everyone. Welcome back to the negotiation table. My name is Wincy Hong, your host and communication specialist here at HGEA. And with us today, we have HGEA's Executive Director, Randy Pereira. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Before we dive into this month's conversation, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button so you never miss an episode like this. Okay, so let's get started. HGEA recently scored a major legislative victory with the passage of our repricing bill, which gives the union a new powerful tool to target specific job classes that suffer from subpar pay and push for more competitive salaries. Governor Josh Green had threatened a veto, but at the 11th hour, he ended up signing the bill, which means our repricing bill is now law. So Randy, can you take us back to the beginning? Can you give us perhaps an overview of what repricing is and what was so problematic about the previous repricing process?
Well, the passage of this bill is particularly significant, and the significance is rooted in history. If you go back to the days when I started a zillion years ago working for HGEA, pricing was defined as a comparison, or repricing I should say, was defined as a comparison between two job classes that were doing the same kind of work, but one class was being paid better than the other. And based on that direct comparison, then adjustments could or should be made. And prior to 2000, repricing actions were ultimately overseen by a group called the Public Employees Compensation Appeals Board, or PCAB. When we went through this exercise of civil service reform during Governor Cayetano's tenure, the employers wanted rid of that appeal process that PCAB had allowed. And at the time, the agreement that was reached in the discussions leading up to the passage of the civil service reform law, the PCAB was eliminated, so therefore there was no appeal mechanism for any kind of pricing request action. It sounds all technical, but when you're making a pricing request action, you're basically attempting to increase the pay of one group as it relates to the pay of another. What we ended up agreeing to, however, was that pricing actions would then become negotiable under the law. At the time, the state decided to repeal all of its rules regarding pricing. And those rules, which had been administratively approved, went by the wayside. And it basically created a situation where the employer had unilateral control over the pricing process. Pricing meaning determining what pay each job should be at. It was negotiable, but we never as an organization really took advantage of that, nor did any of the other unions. We reached a point, however, now where clearly market forces have suggested that, if nothing else, that state government and county government employees are dramatically underpaid. And it forced us over the last few years to push harder to get this bill passed. The importance of the bill is that it creates an appeal mechanism. So if we do attempt to negotiate a pricing change for a particular kind of job, and it would be that job specific, it's not necessarily an entire bargaining unit. But if we look at a particular job and pursue a pricing change through negotiations, if the employer stonewalls us, we can now go to arbitration and have a neutral third party make the decision on what the pricing should appropriately be. It's a tremendous victory. It's a very difficult concept to understand because it is somewhat technical. Bottom line being, though, is that the organization now has the ability to attempt to negotiate specific job class increases based on market and other conditions. It's something that we haven't had really for 24 years.
Wow. Like you said, a lot of these denials seem incredibly unfair. Can you explain what the new law does to fix this process?
We've been stonewalled for years by the HR departments of both the state and the counties. Under the law that passed in 2000, the employers are supposed to review pricing based on market conditions every 5 years. They claim they did. We know that's BS. They never did. And as a result, our jobs in government are woefully behind the private sector and federal sector when it comes to compensation. this provides us an appeal mechanism. It's a targeted mechanism, and it's not something that we're going to be able to do a shotgun approach with. It's going to be a bit more challenging, really, to identify and get evidence to show the different kinds of comparisons that could be made with the private and federal sectors. It gives us a targeted tool to address pricing issues, which, as I said, it's big stuff.
Definitely. It's interesting that the union has spent the last 3 legislative sessions pushing for this bill. Why was it so important for us to continue to be persistent about getting this passed and signed?
It's all about trying to get fairness into the compensation system for government. Government suffers from an archaic classification system. Too many of our members are working with job descriptions at maybe 25 to 30 years old. It's absurd. And while the HR folks claim we don't have enough staff, or the bottom line is that they have not prioritized making sure that government is a competitive employer, making sure that employees are paid fairly for the work that they do, and ensuring that we are really the kind of employer of choice that our young people would want to apply for and actually spend a career working. We've been making headway with the legislature, and I think the combination of the current vacancy rates, as well as legislators becoming now more acutely aware of the pay discrepancies between public and private, led to them passing the bill.
In terms of next steps, what can members expect in the coming months as this new law takes effect?
We've already worked with the employer on a couple of job classes, both the state, city, and county. We're working with the other counties as well, looking to make adjustments based on market changes. We do already have pricing change requests in for several job classes within the DOE. We intend to continue to look at some of the most glaring areas within government where there are extremely high vacancy rates that you can tie directly to the difficulty recruiting it because of pay. Those will be our initial targets. The amount of shortage differential that the employer pays is actually more than the base monthly salary that's in the contract. It's an absurdity where HR, DHERD in this case, should have made pay adjustments years ago, but they just chosen not to. And for whatever reason, I view it to be illogical, but that's how it's been. So we'll continue over the next several months. The one complication for us is the fact that we're also engaging with the employers in bargaining over our master agreements for all 9 units. So there's some overlap in that, where we're looking to make sure that there are pay adjustments that are given to just keep up with the cost of living for all of our units, as well as the individual goals that each unit may have. But we'll be continuing to look at pricing opportunities and look to negotiate. And hopefully we'll see a shift in how DHERD approaches this, and a bit more openness. I shouldn't say just DHERD, but it's the county HR folks as well, and a bit more openness in addressing the compensation that they give their employees.
And like you said, this is big stuff. This is a big deal. So why should members be happy about this victory?
I think the hard part is that I would guess everybody's like, oh, okay, when is my turn to get repriced? Ideally, we would see all government react universally to ensure that employees are paid better, because they just haven't. But it does provide us, as I suggested, a targeting tool that we can use to address, at least initially, some of the most glaring discrepancies. And it provides us now an opportunity to do a lot of this stuff midterm, where otherwise the employer position actually that they maintained throughout the legislative process was they wanted all of this folded into the master contract negotiations. We don't think that's appropriate. Where you're looking to make adjustments specifically for a particular job class, whether it's because of just extraordinarily low pay, or if it's because of market conditions and market competition, this provides us a chance to address those things. And really, it would be appropriate for me, wholly appropriate, to take a moment here and give a great shout out of thanks to all of our members who wrote to Governor Green at the point in time when this bill was on his veto list. We really appreciate the support. I think those employees and members knew the importance of this issue, and gratefully from me, I thank you very much for your participation and your support, because I trust that it helped.
And just for some final thoughts, before we let you go, Randy, do you have anything you want to share with members while we have you?
Well, hey, I'm going to flip subjects completely and talk about the need for people to vote. What we are seeing right now, just in early returns, is that we may have the absolute lowest voter turnout in the history of the state. We should still, as union members, exercise our right and our responsibility to vote. That starts actually with registration. We're seeing an increase in the number of folks that aren't registered. And we need those people to register to vote and actually cast a ballot. It's pretty simple. We can say that, we've only got 4 electoral votes, my vote doesn't count. But this time around in the presidential election, we have 2 candidates that are in stark contrast. Former President Trump is one thing, and clearly has not been a friend of organized labor, public employees, and working people in general, despite his rhetoric to the contrary. But what's scarier are the people that surround Donald Trump, and the fact that they have come up with what they call Project 2025, which is a manifesto. It's a compendium of ideas that they intend to implement if Trump wins the presidency. They roll back everything from civil rights, environmental protections, union rights, particularly for government employees. Their intent, frankly, is to make government employee unions extinct. And we would see then government workers being at will and subject to the whim of the employer, and a whole host of other things, female rights, etc. It is a dramatic attempt to shift the social fabric of our country. These jokers purport to be patriots, but they're taking away in this plan the very thing that has made America unique, which is our freedom, our freedoms of choice, our freedom to do things as we see fit within the bounds of law. It's scary. And if there's any reason that you should consider voting, it's to make sure, I don't want to get into this rhetorical, you got to vote for democracy, which I think you're going to hear from a lot of Democrats and former presidents. But in truth, that's kind of what we're doing. Because, again, Donald Trump himself is one thing, but his cronies that are pushing this Project 2025, including that idiot J.D. Vance that's running for vice president, we need to stop them, frankly. And I hope all of our members consider that and realize the importance of it and cast their ballot for Kamala Harris when it comes time in November.
So mahalo to you, Randy, for
thanks
joining
for having me
us today. We appreciate you every time taking time out of your busy schedule to come meet with
hardly.
us.
This is fun.
I'm glad. So folks, join the conversation in the comments. Let us know what you think about the new repricing law. Are you concerned about the salary in your job class not keeping up with the private sector? And if so, tell us your job or position. And for more content like this, don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And we can't wait to see you back here next month at the negotiation table. But for now, that's all we have.
Thank you.
Bye for now.